All right, you're recording?
Well, I want to welcome you all to the 2022 virtual budget roundtable. This is the first ever roundtable discussion on the budget for our town, and we're really excited to try something new. For many years, we've been using telephone and online tools to gather resident input for the budget process. And this year, our budget consultations have consisted of hearing from about 300 residents by phone, some 400 residents through online survey, and 30 submissions through our budget online roundtable questionnaire. And of course, from what I consider the ultimate survey, for a few weeks this fall, all of us were going door to door to hear how you wanted the town to be shaped for the next year and years down the road. So of course, the election gave us great insight into the thoughts of many residents. So we hope this roundtable will be informative and possibly at times a little entertaining, but give residents an idea of the process we go through. So for format, we've taken all the submissions and narrowed them down to a few key things that keep coming up through our consultations, and we'll address them by subject. We couldn't possibly deal with every single item that was brought forward over the past number of weeks. But we'll deal with the main themes, I guess, through this roundtable. So what I'll do is, I guess I'm, for lack of a better term, MC. I'll be offering comment as well throughout this. I'll introduce a subject, and then I'll turn it over to one of our councillors to start the discussion. And then after that, all councillors can chime in and have their say, and the discussion will continue that way throughout this session. So first off, many residents, of course, brought the issue of taxes and the financial state of the town to us through submissions, through door knocking and so forth. And of course, it's always a hot issue. And of course, you know, everybody understands that the cost of everything is going up. So it is a big concern, and a big concern this year. Deputy Mayor Andrea Goss, who serves as chair of our finance and admin department, as well as the person who will be delivering our budget shortly, I guess, will start things off. So Andrea, you take it away.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. Without a doubt, municipal taxes are definitely on the minds of residents these days. We are coming out of a pandemic, and as a result, many families are navigating through some financial challenges. I want to assure the community that Council always endeavors to reduce the financial burden for its residents. But like our residents, the town also faces financial challenges. We too experience the inflationary fluctuation and its pressures. COVID-19 seriously impacted the supply chain and availability of goods, which in turn causes increased pricing. Financially, this affects our residents, businesses, and the town as well. The town has experienced increases in regional costs for which we have no control, such as the cost to purchase water from the city. The town has had to deal with disaster relief expenses, such as those associated with the Stormageddon of January 2020. The direct costs of COVID-19 put a lot of economic strain on the town, but we were fortunate to be able to access funding from the Safe Restart Fund to assist with the additional costs incurred to reopen. This was a one-time funding opportunity. Nonetheless, COVID-19 safety measures remain and will be a part of running our town for some time to come. And so will the added costs associated with it. Over the last 4 budgets, Council and staff have worked together and found ways to reduce spending to ensure that Council does not pass increasing financial burden onto its taxpayers. And finding ways to reduce spending continues to be top of mind for us. Another example of how we help to reduce the financial burden for our taxpayers can be seen by looking directly at our tax rates. Our residential and commercial property tax rates and the business tax rates have not changed in our town since 2016. In fact, Conception Bay South has one of the lowest residential property tax mill rates among its neighboring municipalities, to the amount of 7.15 for the mill rate. How was my property valued? That question often comes up. Properties are assessed by the Municipal Assessment Agency, and this is an independent Crown corporation which is authorized under the provincial legislation to assess property for all municipalities within the province, with the exception of the City of St. John's, which has its own assessment department. Assessments are updated annually based on market conditions and/or changes to your property. The information is provided to the town, and the town taxes accordingly based on the assessed value. If market conditions change, then property values may change, which in turn affects the assessments. Residents are provided with an annual notice of assessment in May and have the ability to appeal it if they feel the value is not correct. Residents also have the option to take advantage of the no interest equal payment plan with the town. As Mayor Bent referenced in his opening remarks, councillors heard the concerns of residents throughout the campaign and again through the public budget consultation process. We will keep the concerns of residents first and foremost as we work towards bringing forward the budget for 2022. Thank you.
So thank you, Deputy Mayor Goss. And would anybody like to weigh in on this subject? Please feel free. If I could just for a second, one of the things I want to note, and it has to do with increasing costs. And one of them outside of our control is that the City of St. John's provides us with the water we need to drink here. And, you know, and it's our job to test it and make sure that it's proper and appropriate. And then over the last while, we've invested in leak detection equipment to ensure that we're not losing water, you know, and paying for it. But you know, one of the truths is that over the past 5 or 6 years, the cost of water to our town from the city is increased by over $500,000, and we're expecting to take another hit this year, and that's a difficult thing. And of course, it's a fee. It's not a direct fee for use, but it is to some degree. I think we charge $440 for our water fee and $150 for our sewer fee per household per year, which is about $590, which is the lowest on the Northeast Avalon by, I think, $10 in a couple of cases, and maybe even as much as $35 in another case. But the other municipalities, other than us, of course, that we are right next door to, have a huge commercial tax base compared to what we have. And of course, they can absorb it. Having said that, we've been absorbing it for the past 4 or 5 years as well, because we have done cost-cutting measures and we've been as frugal as possible to ensure that we can hold the line on it. But that can't go on forever. So that's always a concern, of course. And we're anticipating, I think we've gotten an estimate this fall so far, and I think we're going to find out some hard numbers in the next couple of weeks, that the cost of water could go up as much as 6% again. And when you're paying north of $3 million for water per year to the city, that's a hefty chunk of change, probably another $175,000 thereabouts. So those are things that are being considered as well. And we've talked about this, and of course we've all come to the table here with a mandate to keep, you know, property taxes in line if we can, and we've heard that loud and clear, especially from people that are on fixed incomes, or seniors, and some younger families and so forth that have been affected by COVID. And taxes are a big concern for all of our residents, have been for some time. They are for me, you know, so we're working on that issue as well, and trying to find as many savings as we can to keep things as in line as possible. But you know, as the price of everything goes up, you have to manage responsibly, of course. And so we're considering all those things as we are in budget talks. Would somebody else like to just chime in for a second? Yeah, Gerard, you go ahead, Councillor Tilley.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. I just want to touch on the issue, I guess, with our mill rate. And of course, we strive to keep that mill rate one of the lowest in the greater Northeast Avalon. But of course, which brings us to our commercial tax base. We've been saying for years as a council that, we need to improve our commercial tax base. I believe right now, roughly around 10% of our revenue for the town is through commercial tax base. And, we certainly got to bring that number up. I mean, like, we can certainly get a couple of businesses to come to CBS. Is that going to change the playing field altogether? No, it's not. But it's certainly a step in the right direction, because if we get one this year, we'll get one next year, and hopefully, that'll start a chain, and we'll be able to get more revenue coming to the town, so we can keep our mill rate as low as possible for residents.
Thank you, Councillor Tilley. Would someone else like to say a few words on this matter as well?
Yes, Mayor Bent, Christine. Yep. Further to Councillor Tilley's comments, certainly, business attraction is really big and very important. As chair of the Economic Development Committee, we talk about it a lot. And of course, the more community business attraction we get, the more residents we attract to the town, and that in turn is more taxes. So it all sort of is a cycle. So absolutely, and very pleased that our town is among the lower mill rates in the Northeast Avalon, and great to see that we're working hard to try and continue that, but we have to see what the future is. Thanks, Mayor Bent.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Anyone else? I just want to say, I drove from the east end to Seal Cove Road yesterday, and along the route, I think I counted 3 new storefronts that started up that stuck out to me, and there might be more, which is exciting. It not only is saying that businesses are looking to come to CBS, but they're actually doing it and setting it up. And big or small, it all counts. And the other thing too is what I like to see with these new businesses starting up is there more options for our residents to buy stuff right here in Conception Bay South. Keep them here to do that, and I think that's important. So thank you, Councillor Butler, for raising that as well. Did anybody else want to speak to this issue before we move on to the next one? Okay, all right. So number 2. One of the common concerns we've heard from residents is a desire to get connected to water and sewer and services, of course, in the town. And, the vast majority of our residents are, but, we've heard from those who aren't and have been waiting a long time to get connected, what our plans are and where we go from here with that. And of course, it's expensive, as you all know, but one of the things we've heard is even from people that didn't have their water and sewer. They'd like to see us do more water and sewer for those that they know, their friends and their relatives and neighbors and so forth that don't have it, and want to see us move forward with that. So Councillor Tilley, you're the chair of the town's Engineering and Public Works Committee. I'll let you start off the conversation on that matter.
Thank you, Mayor Brent. Good afternoon, fellow council colleagues. I'd like to give a brief background on water and sewer services in Conception Bay South. Water and sewer installation is the single most costly infrastructure expenditure within the town. The town would not be able to do this work without the assistance of various levels of government through multi-year capital works funding, gas tax funding, or ISIP, which is what from municipal perspective is called the Investment in Canada Infrastructure Plan. And funding has been and continues to be leveraged from different levels. I've seen it as much as $70-30, $60-40, and of course 50-50. So of course we obviously get better bang for our buck when we go to 70-30 route. But it all depends on the funding allotment at the time, what we can get. As of today, 94% of the properties in Conception Bay South can avail of municipal water and sewer services. We have roughly 650 to 675 properties on our priority list that need to be serviced. I made reference to a priority list back in the early, I believe, late 80s. Town council today developed a water and sewer priority list. And from my knowledge, that list has been in place and it hasn't been altered in any way since they started doing the water and sewer list back then. So our records indicate to provide water and sewer for those 650 properties, which somewhere running the range somewhere in the vicinity of $66 million. So roughly about $102,000, $103,000 per property. So of course, you know, if we're, for example, if we were to put all of our water and sewer, all of our money into water and sewer upgrades, it would take the town years just to give everybody water and sewer services. So of course, you know, we had to take into consideration as well. If that was something that we decided to do, there would be no money for anything else. There'd be no stadiums, there'd be no arenas, there'd be no playgrounds, there'd be none of that stuff. So we got to take a balanced approach when we certainly look at all of our money. The town continues to invest in water and sewer upgrades and infrastructure. We've recently included upgrades to 5 pressure reducing valves and the installation of 5 new water meters. We also have a preventative maintenance program in place for all of our 35 lift stations throughout the town. And for those you who wonder, well, what is a lift station? And of course, basically all of our town sewer system is gravity fed. And we certainly have low-lying areas that need that extra boost to get that sewer up to the main sewer lines. And that becomes quite costly to maintain. As with, you know, just our general households, the cost of everything has risen over the years. And Deputy Mayor and Mayor already alluded to this. Maintaining our water sewer systems is no different. Cost of water alone has risen almost 20% since 2016, which translates into an increase of over $500,000 for taxpayers in Conception Bay South. We've been fortunate to able to absorb that extra expenditure, but without having to pass it on to residents, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to maintain from within our existing budgets. And I think Mayor Bent, you alluded to that we expect another rise again this year from the city. In addition, the town is undertaking a water system review back in 2020, and I believe was completed and distributed in 2021, that found no significant concerns with operations of our water systems. There were some recommendations from this review, and we are currently addressing those recommendations. But on for some good future news, we have received funding through different funding sources for the next phase of our water and sewer project, which is phase 48. And of course, that will allow us to address the next streets on our water and sewer priority list. And that work is expected to begin in the spring of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tilley. Would somebody like to speak to this issue as well?
Yes, Councillor Khan, me. Just wanted to, Councillor Tilley, when you mentioned there that about the money that would come up for water and sewer, the amount of money to $66 million, and we said that there wouldn't be any other like stadiums or anything like that. But is it my understanding and that there are particular pots of money, there are different infrastructure money that can only be used for water and sewer. And then like when we did the new arena, that was separate money from outside. We never took that away from anything. We actually got money outside. So we only get a certain amount of money, I guess, every year to do water and sewer. Am I correct in saying that, or am I? And that comes in a pot as for water and sewer, road up maintenance and stuff like that.
Yep.
But there are different pots of money.
Yeah, you're partially right, and I'll probably even go back to I've heard a lot of people say that, well, why do we want to get a library? Why don't we spend it on water and sewer, for example? Well, a lot of these funding arrangements come in that they give you money for a library. That doesn't mean that we can come and take that money and say thank you and go spend it somewhere else. It has to go towards the particular library. No different than a lot of the different funding arrangements that we do have. That has to go towards certain specific projects.
Thank you. That's what I thought. So the money that we do get for water and sewer, and that 66 million, will probably take us a number of years in order to be able to get that. If we are averaging $5 million a year, we're still 10 years, 15 years out. A minimum
of 11 to 15 years out. That's provided we get 5 million every year for the next 11 years.
Yeah, and just on that note, Councillor Tilley, of course, we don't get that annually. Those funding arrangements usually come in 2 and 3 year funding arrangements. I think right now we're in a 2022, 2024. So in 2024, I think, or maybe even 2023, I'm not sure, would be the earliest we would expect to get new money after we've done the 4 or 5 roads that we've got scheduled to be done now from the last money we got. So it takes a bit of time. And of course, I think that money that comes in that we use for water and sewer also is the same pot that does our roads. So we have to divide it up and figure out, you know, how many roads do we do? How much water and sewer do we do? So it's a difficult balancing act, you know, because we understand that priority list is really, well, from the time I've been on council, it's been considered a promise list. And that we won't go back on, and that people are see they're third or eighth or ninth on that list, expect to be third or eighth or ninth when the time comes to get money to move up to get to them. And you know, I feel committed to that list, and I know that there's some of the people on the streets that are coming up are very happy to be getting their water and sewer finally, and I know that others will be happy that those are coming off the list, so they get higher up on that list as well.
Sure. And you'll notice as well that I didn't mention specific streets that are next on our water and sewer list, because it all depends. I mean, say for example, we've got $10 million for next year. I mean, that $10 million could do 10 roads. It may only do 7 roads. So, or it may do 13 roads. It all depends on once our engineering do the design and pre-design engineering, and just see what the final counts are. So we hope now that we get the best bang for our buck, right? So, but that's one of the reasons why we don't come out and say, well, road 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are definitely going to get done, because it may only fall in that roads 1, 2, and 3 get done. So that's the reason why we do it that way.
Councillor Tilley, we've seen the fluctuation in pricing of materials certainly would have an impact on how many roads we can do and where things come in at, for sure.
Councillor Tilley, my understanding, you referenced the priority list, and Mayor, you referenced priority list as well. It's my understanding that several years back, well, there's concern that priority list is outdated. Because my concern that several years back, there was a review of that priority list, and in fact, there would not have been enough change at the time to reorganize it. So the priority list we have today is the same one that we've been working with for 30 years.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of people have asked the questions before about these new subdivisions. How do they, I guess, circumvent that priority list? But of course, I tell everyone that, you know, that's all covered under the subdivision agreements, so that when a contractor goes in and builds a subdivision, part of that whole process is that the contractor has to put in those basic services into those areas. So that's how those particular streets circumvent the list.
Okay, did anybody else want to talk about the water and sewer and so forth before we move to the next question? Okay, so the next item on the list, I guess, has to do with safety along our roadways, and of course, there's been a lot of discussion about sidewalks, street lights, and so forth, to make it safer and better for our pedestrians, to be able to maneuver their way through town. Our chair of the planning committee is Councillor Rex Hillier. Rex, I'm going to let you lead the way on this one.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you very much. As you say, one of the issues we hear most often is safety on our streets, and we hear that quite often it's tied to whether or not there are sidewalks on those streets. We get letters from Spruce Hill Road, Middlebite Road, Daniels Road, all over, people expressing concerns and looking for sidewalks for their streets. We hear about narrow streets, and we can all identify streets that are very, very narrow, difficult for walking on. We hear about volumes of traffic and speed on the streets and the safety issues as a result of this. And we hear about the concerns around the schools. And I think what we've got to remember is that everybody has a point. Everybody is right in that regard. But I want to put, I guess, sidewalks in perspective. We've got over 200 kilometers of street. That's enough to reach from here to Gander. New developments have paid for their own sidewalks. We've used capital works funding to install sidewalks on our collector roads, such as Fowler's, Legion Road, Lawrence Pond Road. There have been various strategies that have allowed us to do Route 60. So there is a significant amount of sidewalk, but it's very, very slow. In 2018, Council decided to set aside money from our operating budget, never ever done before, to take capital capital out of our operating budget for sidewalks. And the idea was to install sidewalks in our school zones. Since that time, over 4 years, we've spent $2 million and we've installed 3 kilometers of sidewalk. So that's 3 kilometers. We're 3 kilometers closer to Gander, if you will. I know the feelings around this table. There's no reason not to think that this program won't continue. However, it's going to be a slow process, and we'll make our decisions on location later on in the winter. So I guess we decide over the coming weeks how much will go into our budget for sidewalks this year, and then we'll make our decisions later in the year as to where the best place to spend it would be. Very briefly on streetlights, all our streetlights are owned and maintained by Newfoundland Power. So we buy our street lights, we buy that service from Newfoundland Power, and town pays for it. All new locations for streetlights and poles are determined by Newfoundland Power with approval and coordination of the town. And each pole costs us roughly $250 a year, little less than $20 a month. And we've got 3,000-ish light poles that we're paying for. So out of a $38 million budget, a light pole is a very small, very small part. We know that throughout the town, and we all hear people asking same sidewalks. There are some dark spots on some of our streets. Some of it as a result of trees getting bigger and lights not spreading along the street and so on, so for whatever reason. So each year there is some increase, I guess, if you will, in our number of streetlights. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Hillier. Would someone else like to speak on that matter as well?
I would, Mayor Ben, please.
Okay, and I'm going to go to Councillor Barrett right after you, Councillor Butler.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. At the recent Municipality Newfoundland and Labrador conference, I attended a presentation from Newfoundland Power. So I just thought I'd add a little tidbit there that, of course, normally when there's an outage of a light or it's broken or there's some malfunction, flashing or whatever, residents would normally contact Newfoundland Power, although I know that lots of times they will contact the town, and I'm sure that in turn we would contact Newfoundland Power. So as a tidbit, now when all lights are replaced, they're replacing them with LED lights, which of course are much brighter and much more efficient. So I just thought I'd add that to the information that we're providing.
Councillor Barrett. Thank you, Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wanted to reiterate a couple of points that Councillor Hillier made, and largely just say, similar to what Mayor Bent mentioned off the top, this was in the top 2 most mentioned things during the election for me when I was going around talking to residents. Sidewalks and school zones, increasing our budget for sidewalks, and as we're all aware now, as Councillor Hillier mentioned, there are some challenges with that, but certainly I just wanted to reiterate again, this is certainly an interest of ours, and we're looking carefully at our options for budget 2022. So thanks, Your Worship and Mayor Bent.
Thank you, Councillor Barrett. Would anyone else like to speak on this issue? Yeah, Councillor Moores, you go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Mayor Bent. Yes, and I just want to echo what Josh said. I would have to say that this was probably the top 3 of things I heard when I was going door to door. And I guess I just want to say, we are aware that some areas are affected by all 3. There's no lighting, there's no sidewalks, there's speeding. And that's something that we are, taking seriously and going to look into. We appreciate that is dangerous for residents in those areas. So, I just think it's important that, I know we only have, so much money and it can only go so many places, but we are going to try, I guess, highlight the areas that are of most concern because we are aware and we're not taking it lightly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moores. Councillor Connors, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, one thing that I'm always amazed with is the cost of putting sidewalks in, and people think that it's just would be cheap to do, but it is very, very expensive. And Councillor Bent or one of the other councillors, I'd rely on you on how much we actually get, say, for $1,000 or something for whatever it is, a sidewalk. It's very little. So, and I don't think residents sometimes realize that. And you would think, you looking at a sidewalk, you should be able to put some money into it and move it along very quickly. But it's certainly not that. The cost to do it is very, very expensive.
I might as well add to that, Mayor Bent. All of our sidewalk work is 100% funded by the town. We can that money, you don't qualify for that $70-30 from the provincial government sources for sidewalks. So the town has absorbed 100% of that cost.
Yeah, and I think that's true, Councillor Tilley, unless it can be part of like a bigger road restoration project, like we saw up on Lawrence Pond Road, where some people have said, how come they got sidewalks on Lawrence Pond Road and I don't have sidewalks on, I don't know, Spruce Hill Road or different places like that. And what happens is if you can tie it in an area where you think it's necessary with a major project, then you can get funding, I believe. And that's why that happened up there, but nothing has changed in 6.5 years. My first day on council, the first thing I brought to the table was sidewalks and school zones. And here we are 6.5 years later. It took me 2 years to get that into the budget. And I'm happy that council saw that was a priority and still sees that is a priority, this new council. So this will be the third, I guess, different council I've sat on. And we all know how much of a priority sidewalks are. And unfortunately, we all know how expensive they are, especially because we look at a lot of areas along Route 60 where some schools are, but even other areas where we're starting to look at those as well, because there are areas where, safety is a concern. I mean, speeds and the amount of traffic and all of that, it plays a role. And I understand people are concerned, and I'm concerned. We had one of the great things about elections is that the people that are running to represent residents are actually walking those streets, in places that they maybe not, and they see what's happening with that. And so it is a priority, and I'm glad to see it still is a priority. It is expensive, but one of the things I will say too, and I know that Gerard, this, is that we've been really lucky with our expenditures on sidewalks, because like you say, you put it out to tender, you expect to get a certain amount. We've actually got more. So of that 3 kilometers, Councillor Hillier, we didn't expect to get the full 3 kilometers. We probably expected to get 2.6 or 2.7 of it. And because the tenders came in lower, we got more sidewalk out of it, which is fantastic. And I can only hope that that'll continue, although I'm not sure, and you certainly can't depend on it. Did anybody else want to speak to this issue before we move on to the next one? Councillor Hardy.
I just want to really just add a little bit more, Mayor Bent, to what you just said. I know one of the things we're trying to do is be very strategic when we are going out to any big restorations or road work. We are trying to build that into the work plan and the work scope. So I know that's one of the things we're trying to be strategic, the things we're doing, so we can stretch our money even further. The second point on the streetlights, yes, that's a real good thing, that as our streetlights continue to, I guess they just break. It's not they break, it's just they're no longer working. The LED lights still have the same lumens, so the brightness is still there. I know we did have some residents in my area when we were campaigning, thinking the LED lights would actually be not as bright as a previous HPS lights or whatever was used, but it is actually the same lumens with an LED light. So just want to put that out there for residents.
Thank you, Councillor Hardy. Did anyone else want to speak on this matter before we move on to the next one? I will say, though, if you've got a street light out in your area, let us know. There's a program, the Newfoundland Power puts it on the list and goes and fixes it as soon as they can. So that's a good thing as well. Okay, we'll move on to the next matter. And of course, one of the things through the election, especially, and through the feedback and the hosting of a recreation master plan survey that took place earlier this year, one of the things that came through, and sometimes you think that you didn't need to do all that work to know, but more indoor space more indoor space for all kinds of different things, whether it's arts and recreation and so forth, is something that is desperately needed in Conception Bay South, in my view, and I think council supports that. And and I know that that's a concern in many areas, but is one of the things on the list to be looked at, of course, and we've heard that one, and other things like parks and playgrounds and so forth were also prominent as well. Councillor Shelly Moores is the town's Recreation and Leisure Services Committee Chair. Shelly, you take it away on this one.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. And I can honestly say that this was definitely the #1 thing that I heard when I was going door to door, and I'm sure a lot of fellow councillors probably heard the same. The need for an indoor community center in CBS, because we're the 2nd largest municipality and we currently don't have that type of facility in our community, and how much it's needed. So I do know that in November 2021, a resolution was passed to make application to the 22-23 Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program for projects including community centers for $30 million. Now, like all grants that you apply for, there's no guarantee that we're going to get it, but it's obviously a step in the right direction that the application is going to go in, and fingers crossed we will be lucky recipients of this money. During the collection, I know from the feedback from the budget consultation, residents also really talked about, like you said, more community playgrounds, outdoor swimming pools, etc. And also with regards to the recreation and cultural master plan, I know 80% of the people that were surveyed on this wanted a community center, so voted in favor of a community center. So I do think, we had the consultation last night. It was lovely to see so many people out and interacting in the Recreation Cultural Master Plan consultation. Neil Dodd did a great job of presenting, and it was great to hear so many people talk about how they felt about it. So in saying, another thing that came forward was that, we want more squash courts, we want more performing arts centers, we'd like to have redo our indoor pool, and more areas like that in our community. But what was good to hear was that so many people truly believe that we can make this work in one big facility. We don't necessarily need multiple new facilities. So it was really great hearing all the questions that people had, and how as people were there, they were all coming together and realized, this is achievable by having one facility. We had representatives from volleyball, we had swimming, which is a bit of a different thing, but all the indoor facilities talked about, like the performing arts, that they could make it work if we could really focus on a community center. So I think that's really important. And I think the more feedback we get from our residents, which they have until December 21st to send in feedback on this plan, I think the more that we hear, the better we will be prepared to make more, accurate decisions for our budget. So I do encourage everyone to visit our website. If they didn't get an opportunity to watch the consultation last night, you can watch it on the website now, and submit their feedback. Because as we all know, the need for a community center and other recreational resources is going to be determined through this master plan. So it is important for as many people as possible to give their feedback. And all the details are on our website. So I think it's important. I am a firm believer that we need it. I'm not going to hide that. So I will be pushing for it. And I do believe that it's something that we can do to accommodate as many groups in our community as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Moores. I don't think any of us are going to hide that. Is there, who wants to speak on this next? Is there somebody that wants to throw their hand in the air there? It's Councillor Butler. Go ahead, Christine.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Moores. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the consultation last night, but I watched every minute of it afterwards, spending the late night there just staring at the screen. But I have to tell you that there was 12 people who spoke on, maybe between the 12 of them, who spoke on probably 13 or 14 different things that they were interested in having in the town. And a lot of it was about a multi-purpose community centre. My, if we could build one that had all that, wouldn't that be wonderful? And of course, we'll strive to work towards that. And Neil Dawes certainly is working well, with the presentation that he gave. I liked the variety last night. I was so impressed with the recreational aspect, along with the arts and the culture. There was a real variety, and I can't wait. And I loved that Gord Billard mentioned Theatre CBS, and looking forward to It's a Wonderful Life. And no, I don't have a catchphrase, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Butler. Did somebody else want to speak on this matter? I know that one of the things that happened during COVID, when we lost the schools, a lot of our groups from guides and so forth and community organizations lost space and realized, how precious space indoors was. So, the need for a multi-use facility is certainly something that's on top of a lot of people's minds. Anyone else want to speak to this one before we move on to this? Councillor Barrett, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to reiterate what a couple of folks have mentioned already. It was really, I also watched the recording. It was really honestly very nice to see of all these different subgroups seemingly willing to work together and confident that we can put together such a facility that can accommodate so many different groups in our community. And so very looking forward to that, as Councillor Morse noted, and as Mayor Bent noted, this is a priority for all of us. But I'd be remiss not to mention, we're chatting about the prospect of a community center, which is very exciting, but also not a one-trick pony either. There's certainly lots of other exciting things we're optimistic about with recreation, and one thing in particular, there's some discussion on, say, a dog park and ways to upgrade that. And happy to say, as many folks might have already seen, earlier this month or in October, we actually had a light installed at the dog park here in CBS. And so certainly things like that, we're looking forward to continuing what we can do in other spaces as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barrett. Councillor Morse, yeah.
So, and I just want to say a couple more things. One of the things that were brought up also during the plan, and I think during the budget consultation, is that, the need for more outdoor parks, but it was indicated last night that doesn't necessarily mean brand new parks, but just improving some of the ones we have, like one in particular, Topsail Beach. Like, that is such a beautiful area. It has so much potential. So we're not talking about, redoing things. We're starting, let's improve on what we have and make it better. And I think that's important with all the community parks we have in CBS. And one other thing with regards to the community center, which I thought was again, talking about what Councillor Barrett just said about how, people were so willing to want to work together with the facility. And the general consensus seemed to be, we understand that this is going to be a big expense for a community, but let's do it right. Let's make sure we think long-term about what this facility is going to need, and make sure we have in our heads what long-term we're going to want in there, so we don't have it done, realize, something we should consider this or consider that. So I think everyone understands it's going to take time, and if we're going to do it, let's do it right.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. Councillor Connors, and then we'll go to Deputy Mayor Goss.
No, I just wanted to say, because I don't think anyone mentioned it, but for anyone that's going to view this, if they still want to see the presentation last night from the track consulting and the master plan, it is available online through the town's YouTube site. So you should go on and watch it. To me, it was very informative, and it addressed almost everything that I heard at the doors from a recreational perspective. So it's a very well thought out plan that I'm looking forward to start implementing over the next few years.
Thank you, Councillor Connors. Deputy Mayor.
One of the things that I found interesting in the presentation, and we had heard it before, was that the change in the demographics in our community that's anticipated over the next 25 years, plus that the increase that we're going to have in our senior population. And that's a group we're going to have to definitely incorporate into this master plan in the shared facility, because we have a wonderful facility at Worsley Park. But as that group becomes larger, that they're going to be a key group that we have to keep in mind with this new facility. And another point that I wanted to mention is everyone who spoke last night, that got up and spoke and brought, most of them, they were involved with different groups, sports, various sports. There was representation from volleyball, from baseball, figure skating, and representation from the arts and the theater, the arts and music. And what like made me feel really proud is that these people all volunteer. And, you know, while Track Consulting mentioned that volunteerism is on the decline, I think that this new center, this new facility, and this new project, and, you know, volunteerism is alive and well in Conception Bay South. And I think this is just going to bring it all to another level, you know. And yeah, so it's exciting. And yeah, I was really pleased. But these were a couple of points that I felt really proud of last night. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Would somebody else like to speak on this before we move to the next one? If not, I'm just going to talk just for a second on a couple of the things that were brought up there. You brought up seniors, and of course, you know, Worsley Park is a great facility, but for main senior events here in the town, we've moved out of Worsley Park and moved them up to the Legion because it's a bigger space. Because we don't have enough space to have our seniors out to a lunchtime social and so forth. Some of the other events that we do hold fit in Worsley Park, but we need a bigger space. I may even say that the Legion may be the biggest space we have in town, Manuel's River as well, but still, you know, for town facilities, Worsley Park, you know, Parsons Field is a great spot as well, but you know, we don't have a big space, and there are so many people looking for everything from birthday party space to, you know, shower space to all kinds of different things that they want to do, and it's difficult for them to find space in Conception Bay South. You know, if you haven't booked it early or the space doesn't meet your needs, you know, these are the open spaces that I see and that some other places have that we need to have here, you know, for our guide groups and for our rangers and all these different community groups that want to use space, and just people that want to do something personal, you know, to hold an event and get people together. We need that indoor space. You know, we got the best weather on Northeast Avalon, but you know, every now and again, it might not be good on a Saturday afternoon when you want to hold a shower. So it may shower. Anyway, I won't go on about that any further, but you know, but for seniors and other groups, we really need more space. And one of the things that I was really happy to hear last night was the talk about our bay, Conception Bay, as a resource and as a place for people to use. I thought it was fantastic because you'll hear out of me, and you're probably tired of hearing it, but I believe that Conception Bay South is the recreational boating capital of this province and one of the top places in Atlantic Canada to have fun on the water. And the more we can do to enhance that experience, I think the better. And it's something that I think we can focus on for our tourism, for our local residents. And, you know, one of the things that's happened out of COVID, a lot of people that didn't have them before have cabins and trailers, but they also, I see a lot of boats going around on trailers these days, and, you know, and they're here in CBS. I pass them, I go by them, I see them come by me. And, you know, I think it's right. I think our bay is a fantastic, maybe the best resource we have here, of course. And Topsail Beach, I know you mentioned that, but, you know, there's venues outdoors that we're in the works, I guess, to get a playground upgrade down at Topsail Beach. But, you know, we've got that amphitheater down there that, you know, a few years ago, a theater group used, you know, encouraging. And I know the Theater CBS group are on the go now, but to see that used every now and again for events like that for people, we do a great event down there with the Pirate Day, you know, and it's fantastic. And we usually finish up our soiree down there with a band and a concert and stuff, but it's a great venue. There are of course, access issues and so forth, but, you know, we bus people into there, and it's a great spot year round. And of course, Parsons Field, to me, you know, and I know Councillor Hardy knows, we've chatted about this, that Parsons Field is a softball field with a building, but we can do so many more things at Parsons Field than we're doing so far that would, you know, be great as well. So I won't belabor that point. I know we're going to be talking about some of those issues a little later on, but I'm going to move on to the next one now. And here's one that we could probably go on all day about, but I'm sure, I hope we won't, but the traffic calming. You know, traffic calming is certainly the buzzword for councillors in really busy areas like Conception Bay South and other Northeast Avalon areas. And safety on our roads is a big topic year to year, and different areas around the town have been highlighted. Councillor Josh Barrett is going to start the conversation on traffic calming. Councillor Barrett, you go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and lots of great ideas discussed already today, and certainly during this engagement process. But I can confidently say, certainly during the election campaign, traffic calming was the #1 issue that was brought to my attention in talking to residents. And before I dive in and speak perhaps regarding some potential priority the town has, I want to take a couple minutes just to kind of talk about traffic calming, because a lot of the time when we hear traffic calming, we think we know a speed bump should go here or there, and that these might be some potential solutions. And wanted to recognize there's a great deal of activity already led by the town with respect to traffic calming. Some of this might be these radar patrol, speeds where you're driving and your speed is lit up and you can see what your speed is. These big mobile digital signs where particularly in school zones, it notifies you that you're in a school zone area. These are all very practical traffic calming activities that we lead. We have in the past, and certainly will do so in the future, have targeted operations in partnership with the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary to address certain high-speed areas, and certainly, as we discussed extensively already, sidewalk program, particularly in school zones, is all a few of the ways in which we work as a town to address some of these traffic calming concerns. And so I just wanted folks to keep that context in mind as we pursue traffic calming initiatives. In 2020, the town allocated $90,000 for traffic calming initiatives, and in 2021, this number shifted to $45,000 due to a variety of interests that we don't need to discuss right now. But and I also wanted to mention that these traffic calming budget doesn't include some of these significant road upgrades that other councillors have mentioned with respect to Legion Road and Fowler's Road and Lawrence Pond Road. But certainly considering those the past couple of years, as I mentioned earlier, council believes that this is certainly an area of priority for us, and we hope that over the next couple of weeks, as we continue down budget 2022, that we're optimistic that we can indicate that priority through that exercise. I did want to just take a moment here and share my screen at risk of throwing some of my colleagues off, but we actually have opportunity for residents to look at some of the traffic calming exercises that have occurred in the past and are ongoing in the community. And so for those of you who haven't been on our town website, this is our town website. And so this is the front page. There's a services tab. You can just go down to streets and roads, click on that. And as you go down, there's a number of, frankly, GPS trackers. It's all very intuitive on our website. Later on this year, as we get to know, you can certainly track some of that. But for the purposes of this discussion, I wanted to highlight this road safety tab. And I find it very useful, even as a resident. If you go down here, there's some context regarding some of the priorities and some of the work, how we approach the work for traffic calming in town. But we have this GPS tracker where all of the traffic calming operations that we have done is present. And so I just wanted to show a couple of examples. This is very, it gets updated regularly. If we look at Cherry Lane, earlier this year, we had a few studies ongoing in Cherry Lane. And so it's just, if you click on these little speech balloons, it indicates the street, it indicates the posted speed limit. So for this case, it's 40 kilometers an hour. The average recorded speed was 39 kilometers an hour, and the volume of traffic. And so all of this information is available on the town website. And also I wanted to point out that if you do have concern regarding traffic calming in your neighborhood, we have an online traffic calming request form. And so you just go and you click on form. It's just right here on the website, just a one-page form, some simple information, identify your concern, and email it to our staff. and they'll certainly do their best to get back to you in a timely manner. And so I just wanted to point that out while we're participating in this budget in a virtual format. I thought it was a simple exercise to show how that could be done as well. And so I just wanted to thank staff already in our enforcement division for their work on this important file. So certainly happy to hear from other councillors on this topic as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Barrett. Would someone else like to speak to this now? I just want to say that I think Councillor Barrett, the what we're looking at on the screen there for the little balloons, there's green ones and blue ones, and I believe the blue ones is where we've done an assessment, but traffic calming wasn't found to meet the criteria. Whereas the green ones, I think there's actually traffic calming in place. I note when you yeah, you can check on that, because I know that a lot of people requested, and we do the study, but it doesn't meet the standards. So what's that say? Traffic calming in progress, traffic calming, active traffic calming, traffic monitoring locations. Those are ones that we're studying. Yeah. So you know, one of the things I would like to say is that you know, we've taken an emphasis on areas in town where the town is sending people to have recreation facilities and different facilities and so forth, that we're diverting traffic there for different purposes. We've taken a view that we should have more traffic calming, or it should be given different consideration than just you know, an average street, I guess. But so we've done that. So you'll see along some of our, I suppose, recreational facilities, or along our like the road out to Worsley Park and so forth, in different areas like that, Red Bridge Road up to the dog park and all the facilities up there, you'll see traffic calming measures have been taken, not specifically because of that, but making sure that we have appropriate and as much traffic calming as necessary in those areas. Does somebody else want to speak to traffic calming? Okay, so I think we're all in agreement that traffic calming is something that we are going to continue, and something that is a priority for a lot of residents in a lot of areas. So if you think you need traffic calming for whatever reason, we'll do a study on your road and see if it meets the criteria and go from there. So, okay, I'm going to move on to the next subject matter. A hot topic for the town for the past number of years, the establishment of ATV trail access. And I know Councillor Connors joined the ATV committee that we helped establish, I believe 3 years ago, Councillor Connors, and he served on that committee with a number of ATV enthusiasts and a town representative. I believe Deputy Mayor Murphy at the time served on that committee as well. Now that you're a councillor, you are now the town representative on that committee, and I know it's near and dear to your heart, Councillor Connors. So I'll let you lead the discussion on the ATV access.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. Yes, I'm very pleased to address the ATV questions today and have a bit of discussion and to follow up on some things that were raised in the budget consultation process. And as you just mentioned, the ATV trail has always been a hot topic. It's been a hot topic for many, many years, and we've heard from ATV users on many occasions. And I think I can honestly say that I think we're hearing them pretty loud and clear through various things. So, since being elected has been a busy time, but I just want to let ATV users, residents know that we have talked about the ATV trail on a couple of occasions. We saw our committees, and I was appointed to be on that as the council representative, and it is a fairly active fall, very active fall in our town. Just want to talk about some of, like we heard from ATV committee or ATV users through social media. I'm sure anyone that knocked on doors during the last election heard it at the doors, that there were people that would, the responsible ATV users that wanted to see something done with it. These are the law-abiding residents who who want to legally access trails and their vehicles are licensed, registered, insured. So they were the people who they just want to legally ride in CBS without fear of breaking the law or losing their bikes. And I guess therefore CBS to be ATV friendly. Last night and over the last little while, I was very pleased, and as with most councillors, that we heard that we knew this. Some of the stuff, as you said earlier, someone said earlier, before the recreation master plan is that we knew some of the stuff, but the plan confirms it, that there are an abundance of ATV users in the town. ATV use rated high on the resident survey. And it's an opportunity for to link us to the entire province to bring visitors and tourists to our town. And was also very pleased that the development of the AT Trail is identified as a major recreational outdoor recreational asset for us. So in our town. So we've heard a lot of things. So I just want to take a bit of time now to highlight some of the things that Councillor are doing. So as we said earlier, Council has agreed to the continuation of the ATP Committee, the Advisory Committee, and the work that that committee is doing. If anyone is looking for information on that committee, it's available on our website. The committee meetings are there, everything there. I also want to just take a minute to recognize the people who serve on that committee and want to continue serving on that committee. There's Mitch Summers, who is vice chair, and he's a great spokesman for the ATV users. Chris Summers, Dean Newman, Doug Piercy, he's with NLATV. He's heavily involved with the provincial side of it. Kim Sutton, Peter Welsman, Rick Noseworthy. We all know Rick through Abtract, and he's a big promoter of ATV safety and ATV use in the province. We do have some vacancies. Some people did, for various reasons, decided to resign or to leave the committee. So we need to appoint some new people, and that will happen in the near future. Next thing is that over the past couple of years, the town or the committee has identified a phase one, we'll call it, of a proposed route, and council is supportive of that and moving forward with that. It's really this trail runs from Seal Cove staging area up to the Legion Road. So it's across Route 60 on the south side of Peacekeeper Highway and Route 60. And there's still some sections to be finalized on that, but we are making progress on that. There is one part where land ownership needs to be determined and for this route to be finalized. So I want to point out to make sure that everybody knows and understands that land ownership is and will continue to be probably our biggest challenge or hurdle in the development of a trail. Simply put, most of the land in Conception Bay South is privately owned. The historic trails and the traditional trails that people are using throughout today and have used for years, most of those trails are on private land. So we need to work with some landowners and some people in order to be able to do that. What else? The town supported the submission to a Crown land application for the proposed routes, and we're also making an application to request the ministerial support for the development of the route in the area outside of our municipal thing. The development of this the trail will require collaboration with the town of Holyrood, with Nowcor, with Hydro. I got to be so really pleased that all the discussions so far that we've had with those organizations and the town of Holyrood have been really favorable and in the spirit of collaboration for them to move forward with us. Once again, the land acquisition piece will be a challenge, and Right now, the Crown land pieces, the application is going to go in. We won't know the full extent of what land is needed until the land application is known. Another thing that's recently come up is that the province has adopted some new off-road vehicle regulations by the provincial government. So our regulations will have to be adopted in order to be able, or amended, I should say, in order to bring them in line with the new provincial regulations. We still have some issues and some work to be done on accessing and legally using portions of town roads, but hopefully the off-road regulations will help clarify some of this. And I guess the last thing that I would mention is that we need to look at what's happening in other communities around us. Municipalities such as Corner Brook, Grand Falls, Gander, Buren, they're all doing really exciting work. Communities that are really close to us down in Conception Bay North area are making tremendous strides in becoming ATV friendly and bringing in or creating economic opportunities and bringing in tourists and visitors to their town. So I think there are opportunities for Conception Bay South, and I'm sure that all council on us, just saying I do. I think all council agrees as well that there's opportunities for us to do this in CBS as well. So that's a bit of an update on the ATV trail. Really looking forward to moving it forward in the next few years.
Thank you, Councillor Connors. Would anyone else like to speak to ATV and ATV access in the town? I'm just going to pipe in just for, okay, yeah, Councillor Hardy, you go ahead of me.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Bent. I just really want to put a thank you to the ATV committee, because I know while I was campaigning in Ward 4, I literally heard it at every door, if not every second door, in the area of the ward I'm in. That is a lot of families that are very active in ATVs. It is, I guess, it's almost like a family affair. They pack up their family on the weekends, put all their ATVs and their side-by-sides, their little tiny ones, in their trailers, and they go for the day. They do the boil-ups, and there's so much opportunity in CBS to do them and to keep them in our own municipality. So I was very excited to hear the ATV, I guess, committee is further than what I even expected prior to me getting on council. So I think our residents are going to be extremely excited to hear Mr. Connors today on where we are and where we see ourselves going. So I think that's going to be a huge win for all of our residents.
Thank you, Councillor Hardy. Did anyone else want to speak to this for a moment? Yeah, Councillor Morris, you go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Mayor Bent. Yeah, I just want to say too, that's something, the ATV trails is something I heard a lot going door to door. Personally, I'm not an ATV rider. I guess I'm probably a newbie ATV rider when we purchased a cabin a couple of years ago. So I know how many people like doing it and going for boil-ups, etc. And I do think that if we are, taking this seriously and wanting to get a safe ATV trail, it's better for everyone, because right now we know, riders are driving in not necessarily the safest places, and, bad things are happening. So I think that us taking the initiative to make sure we get a safe ATV trail for these riders, because there are a lot of people in our community. And the way I look at it, like, everyone has a different type of recreational sport that they're into, whether it's walking, running, going on bicycle, or going on ATV. And I think it's important that we respect all those different avenues, and doing this, I think, is a step in the right direction. So I'm excited to see what else will come of this.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Would anyone else like to speak to this matter? I'm just going to, before we move on to the next one, Councillor Connors, you are challenged now in the next 4 years to get this on the go, and hopefully sooner rather than later. I know there's some obstacles, and I believe you were on a meeting that I was on a few months ago with the town of Holyrood that to try and work on that process. But if we could get an access that goes that gets people from Conception Bay South around our community, whether it's on the outskirts with established trails that are there now, somehow I think it would be fantastic. And I always sort of like the idea of having an ATV event, hosting one, maybe up Legion Road somehow, and getting everybody to come. My fear is not that people wouldn't come. My fear is what we do with everybody that would come, because I think if you open Conception Bay South up, or access to us through that area, people from around this province would rally to come. And I'd like to call us the start of the ATV trail, rather than the dead zone when you get to the west end of town. So all the work that your committee has done so far has been great. You're in a different position now, so you got to push it along and see if we can get some stuff going. The sooner the better. I think Councillor Moores was exactly right. It's exciting, and there's lots to be done and gained from getting this going. Would anybody else like to speak before I pass it on? Okay, all right. We're going to move on to the next one now, and economic development, commercial revenue base, and the gateway and all of that are key concerns, because I think people are tired of probably hearing me say it, and others that we need to expand our commercial tax base in order to ensure that we get more of the things we want, and to shield the residents against residential tax increases. And that's the only way we can do it. We've been cutting spending for a few years now, so you get to a point where you gotta relook at that, of course, again as a process. But Councillor Christine Butler is the chair of our Economic Development Committee. Councillor Butler, you take the lead on this one, please.
Thank you, Mayor Bent, and good afternoon to you and my fellow councillors. As chair of the Economic Development and Tourism Committee, I'd just like to point out a few things about what we are doing to bring economic development to our town. The town has been extremely focused on marketing to attract new business and investors. One way the town is achieving this is by working closely with local business associations as a key strategy. For example, the Conception Bay Area Chamber of Commerce and the downtown Conception Bay South. Enhancing the town's assets from a quality of life perspective has also been a focus. For example, trail networks, improved amenities, sustainability initiatives, and tourism attractions like promoting our town as a day trip destination. These assets will attract new residents, the businesses will follow. Continued population growth is a key strategy in attracting new business. A number of initiatives by the town to attract business include enhanced online tools, properties tools, interactive community profile, business testimonials, interactive mapping layers, and trip itineraries. Development of a new flexible tax incentive programs, business tax incentive program, and chamber member rebates. In the new year, we'll be launching our business handbook that new businesses will be able to use as a tool to assist them in navigating the process to start their new business and for businesses looking to expand. As part of growing our business portfolio, we will take an enhanced focus on the gateway. As the world comes out of the pandemic, capital continues to free up and companies are looking for opportunities to invest. The town is considering retaining external expertise to help market the gateway development for strategic investments. The town is open for business. When we grow our business community, we grow our business tax revenue, and it also attracts new residents. So that's kind of a win-win. This offers a level of financial protection to our residents. Thank you, Mayor Bench.
Well, thank you, Councillor Butler, for that. Would anyone else like to speak for a moment on this matter? Before anyone else jumps in, I'm just going to say that, yeah, we with our business attraction video that's being worked on and some other things that we're doing meetings with, with different people and and trying to drum up business to consider Conception Bay South is a great place to be. And I referenced earlier, you know, it doesn't matter the size of the business. Like I said, when I drove through town the other day, seeing new businesses pop up is fantastic. I always note that business success breeds business success. And if I think that we are the last ultimate destination for business establishments on the Northeast Avalon. We are the place that's happening. Our residential base is growing. We're working hard on our infrastructure to improve it, we're creating a great place for people to raise a family. We have elementary schools and junior high and high schools from one end of town to the other for people for resident attraction. And resident attraction, of course, is what allows companies to decide where they want to be. And I always say this, and I believe it's true. If you're not doing business in CBS or looking to do business in CBS, what are you waiting for? We're here. We got 27,000 residents that are looking for options to spend their money. They're looking for more options so they don't have to leave town to buy things as much. And as well, we got many people here that are looking for work and closer to home. And we got a fantastic workforce here in Conception Bay South that would be able to support any business that wanted to come to our town and help us and help them. And I think it's about building community. That part of a community is not only just its residents, it's its business community as well, and working together with our service groups and all the people that make up our community is great. And the more residents we have, and the more businesses we have, the better it is for everyone. So I'm not sure if anybody else wants to speak to this issue for a moment or not, but I'll stop now.
You're on mute, Councillor Bent.
Sorry, I muted myself before I called for you because I saw you were off mute. So we're in a dual mute, not mute. It was bound to happen.
I know in our town plan talks about the town of Conception Bay South building on its strengths. And one of the areas it talks about our strength is our port and our port facility. And I know we've done studies on the importance of our port and our the fact that port facilities on Northeast Avalon are filling up, and we have a port here that we can market. It was interesting last night. I believe the first speaker, Councillor Moores, was someone who talking about boating and the importance of our harbour and recreational boating. We also know that on the other side of the harbour, we've got a commercial port that's just waiting to be filled up, that's just waiting for work to come in there, that's just waiting to grow. And we know, I think it was Councillor Tilley talked about bringing in a business this year and a business next year and a business the year after that. And we know that right now we've got a business ready to come into that commercial side, Ocean Trace International. We're just waiting for them to jump through the hoops and the hurdles that are put in front of them and come be part of our business community and invest so we can take advantage of the tax revenue that they'll bring with them. And we know that there are companies coming behind them, watching how we deal with this particular issue and ready to move into the port as well. So that's a big piece that both the recreational side and the commercial side of our port that we can look forward to marketing.
I have put myself back on mute to take myself off mute, so I'm off mute now. Anyway, yes, Councillor Hillier, that's exactly right. It's all kinds of opportunities out there, commercial and recreational, and I think somebody said earlier it's likely our greatest asset, and that was heard again last night as well in that master plan. Did anybody else want to speak to this matter before we move on? And I'm just going to warn you. Is that Councillor Connors? Did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, say that like everybody heard when we were campaigning through social media, that is the gateway. And because we're just so new, we're just getting into this now, and over the next year, or over the next few months, a year I'd say, but over the next few months, be able to get down and sit down and ourselves and have some in-depth discussions. There are plans, and staff have been working on some things in the background. But for us to be able to sit down and have those in-depth discussions and and what's going to happen up at the gateway, and what is our plan of attack for the gateway. So I just want to say that's something that I'd be looking forward to.
Lots of opportunities, Councillor Connors. We just got to work hard to reel them in, and I'm sure that this council is ready to do that work and try to make the most out of what the gateway has to offer for our residents and for commercial operations. I'll move on then. If no one else wants to speak, and just let people know this is our last main topic for this evening, and it's something that I know that at least 6 of us campaigned in this area from one end of town to the other. And it's something that we heard over and over again, and you hear it periodically anytime, is that there's a feeling that the town has put a stronger agenda for the east end of town than it does for the west end of town. And of course, the west end of town has so many possibilities and opportunities. Now I'm going to let Councillor Melissa Hardy, who represents all of Seal Cove and most, I believe, if not all of Upper Gullies, maybe part of Kelligrews, to speak to this matter. Councillor Hardy.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Bent. I guess just to give everyone an overview what the West End actually refers to, Ward 4 would be the right-hand side of Legion Road to Seal Cove, so it is a large geographic area. So that's what a lot of people refer to when we're talking about the West End of CBS. So while campaigning, I heard multiple times of people wanting more in the West End of CBS, as did others, similar to what Mr. Mayor Bent said there. More businesses, more grocery stores, and pretty much just more variety in general. Families are, I guess, a little bit tired of having to leave CBS just to get a small birthday gift or a bridal shower gift, a wedding shower gift, what have you. They literally have to leave CBS sometimes to go and get a unique gift that they're looking for. So we do have a lot of opportunity in the West End of CBS. And I guess to Councillor Connor's point, we're looking at the potential development of the ATV trail in the West End. So that's very exciting for our area, especially with the Seal Cove ATV staging area. That development was put in a few years ago. So I think that's really key and critical to getting this up and moving. We also remain committed to completing the trailway in Seal Cove, which was recently impacted by the strong weather events. Everyone has certainly heard about those, and we did have some shoreline erosion. So it is more expensive to upgrade due to this, and obviously the impacts with COVID and the cost of getting stuff here in the province now. But there's something the council is certainly committed to doing, and we're going to stay strong to that. For the last several years, we've had millions of dollars allocated every budget to further the water and sewer on the priority list. And I know Mr. Councillor Tilley spoke to this earlier, but we're getting ready to go into phase 48. But just to shed some light for our, I guess, the West End, phases 45, 46, and 47, a lot of that was completed in the West End of CBS. So that's really positive that we're certainly making headways on our water and sewer. And we've recently had some more, I guess, major road improvements in the upgrades here in the West End of CBS. So that's another positive thing. Certainly we can do more, but again, we're doing the right things. We also applied for funding in the multiple times for the Seal Cove Bridge replacement. I did have some residents while campaigning did certainly bring that to my attention, but it's certainly something we're continuing to do. It is a priority for council, and we also included in the latest request for the funding for the Seal Cove Bridge. So certainly top of mind for us as well. And we're also looking to do some more improvements to recreation and infrastructure. We certainly spoke about Parsons Field a couple of times here this evening and the playground. So there is a lot of opportunity up in that area. We have that beautiful clubhouse. It's lit up really nice in the evenings if you're doing any evening events up there. There's a lot of grounds around that Parsons Field, if anyone's not familiar. We do have a lot of families during softball events actually walk the field just as an exercise thing. So, you know, there's snowshoeing, there's cross country skiing, like there's so much opportunity we can have in the west end of CBS. And I'm really passionate about it because it is very close to home. And we have a lot of residents up here, and we're continuing to grow in the west end of CBS. We have so many large subdivisions, constantly new homes going up. So there's a lot of new families coming to the west end of CBS. So I guess to close out, there is a lot of potential in the West End. And just to let everyone know, we heard you. We heard you when we were going door to door. We heard you on the budget survey and the questions. So we're actively working on all of those opportunities into the West End of our town. And yeah, so we're excited to see what it looks like for the next 4 years for us. Thank you, Mayor Bent.
Thank you, Councillor Hardy. Did anyone else want to speak to Councillor Hardy's address there regarding Upper Gullies, Seal Cove, part of Kelly Grooves on that? I just want to say, if I could, first off, you know, it's a fantastic area with all kinds of potential, and I think that the council, when we think about, you know, business and so forth, they're looking for you know, traffic and so forth for setting up. But I think that as that area grows, that those things will come. But one of the things that I'd like to see us do, and I know we do events, like as an example, the lighted walk that we do at the Manuel's River, you know, there's no reason in the world why, you know, and I'm not saying for this year because things have gotten to the point where you've got planned for this year, but next year, setting up somewhere, maybe at Parsons Field, something that would be similar for families to do in that ward, you know, at Christmas time, that would be enjoyable. You don't need to necessarily be on a trailway. You can set up something in the outfield of the park or so forth. There's things that we do that we just do them because, and I think sometimes you just do them because you've always done them this way, or this is the way we were going to do them, and so forth. I mean, you take Parsons Field, there's no issue with parking down there. And you know, in a number of areas, and of course the trail area and the launching area down there, and of course the boats that go out. It's a fantastic area for expansion of our recreational boating, and of course, you know, to be able to attract services that support recreational boating. I think that area of town would be a fantastic spot for that sort of thing as well. There's so much potential there, and of course, as you mentioned, Councillor Hardy and Councillor Tilley, we invested, I think, council over $11 million in water and sewer work in that area of town. Certainly around 2014, 15 to probably 2018 or 19, and that helps develop that area, you know, and encouraging people to develop the areas for subdivisions and so forth will all enhance that as well. But it's a beautiful area of town, and unscripted, as it were, in a lot of areas. So there's all kinds of things that can be done, and maybe a little less congested, can be done a little less congested than we've seen in the East End sometimes, just because there is that space and so forth. And also, I believe the town, and Councillor Tilley or Councillor Butler may be able to correct me, even Councillor Hillier, I believe that we acquired some land near Parsons Field through Crown Lands just a few years ago that has the potential to be developed in one way or another. I think recreational, I think, was the idea for it, but you know, it is land that you know, we can certainly look at over the next year or two, that maybe there's some investments we can make there to do things there that might not even just be as traditional as softball and baseball fields and that sort of thing, but maybe other recreational sorts of things that we can do as well. Anyways, Councillor Hardy, thank you for that. Is there anyone else that wants to speak to that matter before I'm get ready to close? Councillor Connors.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Councillor Hardy raised a lot of good points there, and I'm just thinking about how Conception Bay South is growing, because in the presentation last night we saw that, like, Ward 3 now is the largest population. And one of the comments that were made by Neil Dodd track is because of the bypass road opened up, which opened up land to development for subdivisions. And when we look at now in the, say in Ward 4, since the bypass road was connected to the Route 60 up in Seal Cove, the Cole Thomas Drive subdivisions, there's other subdivisions that have gone up, and there seems to be a lot of new housing development. And I was amazed when I was knocking doors in some of those areas that there are a lot of young people that have moved up in that area as well. So I think that there's going to be that potential as they say, the numbers really do drive everything. So as that road opens up, I think that we're going to see more development up in that area and more need for the services up there because the population will warrant it. So it's I think it's positive for that area moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, Councillor Connors. I say that if anybody doesn't think that there's people in that area, large numbers of people in that area, go out by the entrance to the town sign on a Sunday afternoon in the summertime, and you'd be lucky to get pulled back out into traffic the way it's coming through there, because it's bumper to bumper coming from somewhere they've been for the weekend and so forth. There's a huge amount of traffic in that area, and that bodes well for attracting business. Did anybody else want to speak to this? Yes, Councillor Hillier.
Yes, Your Worship. One of the issues that I heard on several occasions during the campaign was the expression of a concern that council is, I guess, putting too much emphasis on the downtown area in the east end of town, and I pointed out that this has been a business-led initiative and not a town-led initiative. And in fact, 10 years ago, the businesses in this area came together and started this organization, and we can see the impact of it now. So I guess my point is, I really encourage the businesses in the west end of town to reach out to our staff to see if we can start, I don't know if you want to call it downtown 2.0 or where do you want to go with it, but certainly it has grown business in our current area, and there's no reason why it wouldn't grow business in the west end of town, and then we won't have to go to Mount Pearl to get our shower gifts, Councillor Hardy, or whatever it is we have to go look for. So I encourage our business to reach out to our staff to see if we can't put that together in further west.
Yes, absolutely, Councillor Hillier. There's a model for setting those up, and I'm not sure where it was, but they found it and applied it. The businesses applied it to themselves in that downtown area that they call it, and have been doing it ever since, and to their advantage. You know, and our staff have that model and would be willing to work with and support businesses in any area of town that wanted to come together to help promote and do that sort of stuff. And of course, we are working on promoting businesses from one end of town to the other as a town, and as well as our Chamber of Commerce for members. And it will continue to do that. And if there's any business in town that wants to get involved in some of that promoting, from no matter where you're from, you can get a hold of staff and they'll help you with that process. Absolutely. Anybody else like to speak to that matter? Okay, so we've covered all the key issues that were identified through our processes, and I just want to ask now if there's anything that anybody would like to speak to that we might not have addressed so far with regards to this roundtable. And of course, you know, we're in the middle, or I guess, of our budget discussions and so forth, and things that we are considering. And of course, this was to let people know that we have heard well, we've heard all your concerns and we've heard all your suggestions. It's more so than concerns, really, and are working on them, not necessarily, because it's a 4-year council, not necessarily all of them for this year, but certainly for next year, the year after, and so forth, to put in place. Would anybody like to have a final word before we wrap up this session?
Your Worship, I'd just like to remind you that we're an hour and a half later, and the very first question you asked when you sat down this afternoon, the answer is different.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Hillier. I'm an hour and a half. I don't remember the first question I asked.
We'll remind you at a later date.
All right. So anyway, did anybody else want to have anything to say? Yeah, Councillor Hardy.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. I more so just want to say thank you to all the residents for certainly taking the time to complete the surveys, to go to the cultural plan last night. I think it's so important for everyone to have their voice heard. Us as a council, all of our councillors here, we're certainly working very collaborative to try and meet all the needs of the residents in CBS. Yes, we may not be able to meet it in this budget, but we're certainly listening, we're opening, and we're really looking for a very collaborative approach for the next 4 years. So just really want to thank all the residents for taking the time to participate in any initiatives or any surveys we do put out into the community.
Absolutely, Councillor Hardy. Thank you for that. Anyone else would like to have a, yeah, go ahead. Let's first hand up with Councillor Connors. So I'll go from my top left anyway. And Councillor Connors.
I just wanted to echo Melissa's comments there, that thank the residents for completing the surveys, putting in their comments, and letting us know what they all feel. And I guess being close to an election, we all heard it at the doors. And so I also want to talk about this process, that I'm really pleased that we decided to do it this way, and that it is an opportunity. I'll know that we'll know the exact outcome as people watch it and we get some feedback on it. But when I was on council before, we used to have budget consultations, and it would only be the councillors sitting in the room. So I'm really glad that we did have some feedback today, and we had an opportunity to be able to discuss that information and get that back out to residents. And I hope we can have more of these in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Connors. Yeah, I was to a couple of those myself, and a friend of mine. I think we're the only two in the room sometimes, other than council. So,
yeah, we would have just our regulars that would show up, and then other than that, it would be a lot of preparation for with very little input. Or it seems that this has worked a lot better than what we did before. And I'm sure there will be ways to improve this as well. But I think that this is a good start to getting information out to residents.
I think you're right, Councillor Connors. I'm sure more people will view this than would have shown up if we held something. Certainly, that's what history has shown us anyway. Councillor Tilley.
Well, I don't have much else to say because Councillor Connors just stole my thunder. No, I was just going to say, I believe this is my 13th budget, and we've tried just about everything. And like I say, we've had budget submissions, we've had live presentations where there's been absolutely no one there. And I think that we've discussed more as a group in this roundtable in the past hour and a half than I think than any other time that we've ever had a budget. And I really hope that the residents get a chance to take a look at and see actually what we've looked at, what ideas have come about, and what we plan on doing tomorrow and into the future.
I'm just going to jump in now too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I just want to echo what everyone else is saying. I think that, given these opportunities and, going out there and speaking on behalf of all these important issues is really the step that we want to be taking moving forward. And, I'm sure I speak for everyone when one of the things that we did here was transparency. So I think this type of setup is very important so that everyone, can see and have input on all the important things that are going on with council. And equally important is for the residents to take the time to watch the master plan that happened last night and, give their feedback, because like I said earlier, everything counts, like everybody's opinion matters, and we want to hear everyone's opinion. So I think this was great, and I hope everyone else feels that way too.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Morris. Anyone else like to say anything before we wrap up? Yes, Councillor Barrett.
I guess I'll finish the roundtable of conclusions or chime in. Since day one of council, Mayor Ben, you announced our intention to, be more open and transparent. And we have a policy in the works, and I think this is really an extension of some of these things that we're interested in doing. And so really hope you know, this is really a pilot more than anything. And if it's well received, we'd certainly consider doing it again next year. And if it's not, then we'd certainly consider other approaches too. And so just want to be mindful of that. And certainly residents, if you have any ideas on ways we can improve that, I'm sure you can let us know, and we'll do what we can. The last thing I wanted to mention as well is that it's really fitting we're doing this exercise again, and I'm sure you probably see this, Mayor Brent, where you're sitting in council, but it is amazing to see the variety of folks here represented, you know, those with much more experience and those a bit younger, and the different genders represented. And so all of these things influence our collectively our perspectives into this budget. And so just wanted to mention that, and how I believe this diverse council will help address some of the diverse needs in our community and in this budget.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Councillor Barrett. Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to say anything before we wrap up? I think maybe not. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank all of my colleagues on council for taking the time and doing this. It's the first time that the town council in Conception Bay South has ever done anything like this in this mode, and I'm very pleased that we were able to do it. And like Councillor Connor says, we're going to learn how to do it better, I'm sure, from feedback and review ourselves. But you know, to be able to talk about the matters that matter most to our residents is certainly a privilege, and we're very happy to do it. And of course, thank all the residents again for their sending in their submissions, raising some items that are important to them, so that we can ensure that we consider them going forward this year and over the next 4 years, of course, and be responsive and open to the residents when it comes to how we spend their money. So I guess that wraps it up for this budget roundtable for 2022. Thank you all for viewing, and thanks to all the council members for being here and helping us do that this time around. So from council here, that's it for us, and have a good day.